Have you ever wanted to tap into the high-level players and extract the essential tips and tricks to get better at playing a Civ? Well, sit back and relax because I take on the challenge to do just that. Welcome to the Masterclass series. Let's do this. Hey YouTube, it's your boy Widgie here, coming at you with another masterclass, and today I have Guigs with me once again, sharing his knowledge on China.
Yeah, China is like a Civ I've been playing quite a lot recently, so hopefully I get a few tips for you guys.
Okay, so we're going to be getting on to the first question here, which is always a great one for anyone that maybe isn't playing China, playing whatever civilization. It is a first general sort of tip that can help any kind of player get better at the game. So what have you got for us, Guigs?
Okay, this is one I use a lot. With Civilization, they can afford spare cavalry to raid, which is raiding while taking a fight is absolutely insane. You see a lot of top players doing it, but I think everyone can pull it off. You just need like 2 or 3 cavalry units, be ready to go.
Yep.
And as soon as you're taking a fight, your opponent is going to be super focused on that fight, you know, microing units and focusing on reinforcements. And sometimes they won't straight up notice that you actually have cavalry raiding their villas, which could lead to quickly a lot of dead villas or completely throw their macro off and for them to have bad reinforcements, basically.
Yeah, I think this is actually a really good one. I think definitely for civs that can make cav or will generally, you know, transition into cav. Yeah, I think if you try and attack your opponent anyway, like in more than one place, I think you're right. Like it's for me as well. It's happened to me. I've been in a fight. And, you know, the classic kind of attack noise is happening, but you think it's happening because you're in the fight that you're watching. And suddenly you look back and your vil count is like you're down to 10 vils and you've lost like 20 vils and it's basically just game over.
It's over if you don't win the fight, No,
that's a really good tip, actually. One I actually haven't heard yet doing all of these. So that's a really nice one. Okay, so into China then. What is your first specific tip or advice you can give any kind of player playing China?
So a bit like the same way we talked about Dutch earlier, is like base building is also super important as China. If you want to go for the most common build, which what is people do is the fast fortress build order, you know, with Summer Palace and then Porcelain Tower or Confucian Academy. Your wonders have a lot of HP, so you usually want them in front of your town center to tank and force pathing issue for your opponent. And your first village placement will also be very important because you don't want it to be sieged down, but at the same time you want it to cover both safe hunts and a gold mine, you know, so you can quickly transfer villas from your coal mine to your village to your town center, or from your town center to your village to your coal mine. You get a lot of efficiency like that, and it helps you defend as well.
Yeah, I think that's something that's really good for China, that, you know, the village is like, you know, a fantastic building, and the worst thing is if you as you mentioned, if you put it out too far, your vills can definitely garrison in it, but then they're at risk. Yeah. They've then got to try and run away to the TC, and you could easily lose vills very early on in the game. So no, that's some great advice. So moving on to the second tip then for Chinese players.
So this one is regarding shipments, and I'm going to talk quickly about like how intervention shipment works. I think it's probably the best shipment that you want to be sending if you're facing any H2 timing while you're aging, you know, or you just reach early fortress and you're still very weak at that point because you don't have many units, and usually your opponent have more things than you. Yeah. The cool thing about intervention is that it can give you different types of units depending on what consulate you're ally with. You can send it while being popped. It doesn't take any pop space, and you can send it even if you lose your consulate, as long as you allied with another civilization beforehand. So
I didn't even know that.
You can. If you have British consulate and you lose it, you ship intervention, you still get 9 red coats, and nice. 9 red coats is obviously fantastic, and I think the Doppelstunders from the German consulate can situationally be very good as well.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. As I say, that's another card that not a lot of people tend to use. So I guess you could sort of see that card as being like the one for the town militia card, the one that you can get for like Portuguese, for example, where you use that card if you're going to be in trouble and you need to do a double pop of town militia. It's kind of like seeing as that. It's kind of like your fail safe. It's your defense if you're in an awkward position because you've gone fast fortress and you might be getting punished. You've got that card available to get you out of a pinch. So no, that's nice.
So I think just to complement that, when you go for that fast fortress build, you're sending your coin, you're starting to build your wonder, and then usually you send 700 wood. And the first thing you want to build with that is the consulate, making sure it doesn't get denied. And even if you lose it afterwards, it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah, no, awesome. Okay, so the final tip then for playing China.
This one is regarding unit control. It can get very messy quite fast with China because you have so many different type of units usually, and some people don't use control groups. But I think if you want to like slowly get better at the game, you should start using them more and more. Start with one control group for your main infantry, for example, and select everything else manually, and then slowly add more control groups. So usually I have 3 control groups max with China. I would group like redcoats with my main infantry units, arquebuses, leftover true canoes, and any kind of range infantry basically. I would have a second group for anti-cavalry purposes, so Chengdao, Spikemen, the monk, and leftover minutemen, for example. And the third group will be the cavalry group, obviously. So meteor hammers and iron flails. And even if you ship Manchus, I think you should group the Manchus with the cavalry group as well. It makes your life way easier, and Manchus will DPS units behind the cavalry line.
Yeah, no, that's good to hear. That's pretty much exactly what I do. But yeah, I think for myself, when I first learned China, is you can get very stressed about when a batch pops out because they're in banner armies. You've immediately got to add those into different control groups, and it can start to get a little bit overwhelming, especially for newer players trying to split it out into all those different control groups so they're all in the right area and stuff, and it can get a little bit daunting. But yeah, that's one of the key things I found out about China is you are really having to keep on the ball with your control groups and making sure they're all correct. Otherwise, it can lead to a catastrophe when you're actually in a fight. But
exactly, we talk about China Death Ball, when they get like that huge mass of units around 12-13 minutes for most players. But if you don't have like really good control group management, you can end up like wasting a lot of units that like end up forward like 3 Changdao is dead, etc., and these things could snowball.
Yeah, no, definitely. Okay, so on to the opening build orders and strategies alike. So the first thing is, what is your kind of fun, meme style build that you've done with China, whether it's recently or in the past?
So recently, I've really tried to make Good Faith Agreement work. It's a shipment that makes most of your consulate technology cheaper. So the way that works is that I would do a normal H1, build a training post, as soon as possible with China, build a village, and then send T export first. Ally with French consulate to get the food crates to help me H faster, and then follow that up with Good Faith Agreement in H1. And then go for a normal fast fortress, 700 coin first. And then instead of sending the normal wood, 700 wood shipments, I would send 300 export instead and get the 500 wood crates from the French consulate. This way I'm getting infrastructures down with it, and as soon as I reach H3, I'm using the last remaining French crates, which are the coin, 600 coin, and you can use that for anything really, market upgrades, making units with it, or you can even save that coin to get early mercenaries like Manchus or Iron Troops with it. So it's a bit of a meme build because it's like suboptimal, but if you get away with it, later on in the game, you can switch your consulate from French to like German and get all the 3 trickles for very cheap. boosting your economy, or get the Russian consulate to get like a fort and a blockhouse from it, or a factory in H4, which are small things, but definitely helpful.
Yeah. I've definitely recently casted a game of someone that used a good faith agreements, and I think they did something.
I think it was me. First
Was it
shake, I think.
Yeah, essentially, yeah. I think it must have been you. Yeah. Just watching it, yeah, like and sort of you do forget about that card, and if you, as you mentioned, if you can get away with it, it's quite a greedy thing. But if you can get away with shipping all of those resource shipments, and then on top of that, switching to Germany, getting the trickles, and if you potentially go Porcelain Tower, it's just like kind of unreal. Like the amount of resources you're getting in.
Your shadow eco, I'll call it like that, like all the things that you're producing passively is actually insane with China. You have the Porcelain Tower, the Summer Palace, the treacles, the crates from the consulate, like all these things adding up, plus your regular villagers with market upgrades. And sometimes with China, 12 minutes, you have like the equivalent of 40 to 50 villager economy, which is quite insane.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. Okay, so a little bit more serious now. What is your current meta kind of opening or standard opening that you're doing right now on the ladder?
So it's going to be T export first to get the French food crates from the consulates and H up to H2 as fast as possible. I almost always go Summer Palace to H2 and send 700 coin first for fast vultures. And from that point, when you reach Fortress, you will have to adapt to what your opponent is doing. If you see like I see a lot of people turtling with boats and auto trying to go for fast industrial. In this case, like hand mortars, I think is the way. Otherwise, I'd go for standard unit shipments, like 10 arquebuses, 5 meteor hammers. These are really strong shipments overall.
So so when you're aging up from age 2 to 3, do you normally go for the Confucian or do you go for the porcelain? Does it depend on whether or not, what kind of opponent, whether they're an aggressive kind of civ, and you might think, okay, probably want to go Confucian here. If they're more of a turtle civ, maybe like ports that take a little bit of time to get off the ground, you might then go for the porcelain. Is that kind of how you're playing it?
Pretty much, yeah. So if you're facing aggression, you might need the Porcelain Tower just for the skirmish rage up, and you might even ship 9 pikes in transition to defend any timing. If you're playing someone more passive, Porcelain Tower is definitely really good. It's like 4 wood per second, I think, when you set it up to wood, which is really insane. But you could also use the Confucian Academy in an offensive way, your opponent, you scouted that he's going for a fast fortress of his own, so you're dropping your Confucian Academy and you send a villager forward, build the village, build the water academy with it, and suddenly you have your 8 skirm from the Asia popping from that village and knocking at the front door really early. Which could be used as an aggressive fast fortress.
So just one last question, because a lot of people are probably going to ask it. What happens if you get sort of caught out doing your fast fortress? So let's say you're in H2, you've nearly got the resources to start clicking up, but all of a sudden you're seeing your opponent coming towards your base, maybe 6 minute timing. There's some units coming in. What's at that point? How are you going to defend yourself?
So if you expected it, you should most of the time gather extra coin, not just the 300 that you need for your fast fortress, but at least 80 more, so you have the Minutemen option. After the coin, you already have a second shipment ready, so usually you send wood, but you might just cancel it to send what you need as an answer, usually 8 true canoes or 9 pikemen against a cavalry start, for example. So this plus the Minutemen threat usually handles early pressure. But yeah, if you're caught off guard, then you will have to react. The most annoying part is when you are like 50 food short to age and your entire economy is idle. You have to sack vills to gather the remaining resources. If you're really good with your villager control, you can pop them in and out of the town center really fast. And you want to get that Wonder Foundation down no matter what. If it has to cost you 2 wheels, it's fine. You will have to play without these 2 wheels. But if you're stuck in that situation where you're lacking 100 food, then you're going to be stuck here forever, and your opponent's timings are going to get stronger and stronger, and while you get weaker and weaker because you're not training wheels and your entire economy is idle.
Yeah. No, as I say, that's something that I struggle with. But I think if anybody's learning China and they're coming across this and they're just like, I don't know what's going on, sometimes the answer can simply be that you're just too slow. So you just need to really get good at your age 1. You need to really be tight with your macro and just try and shorten that time as much as possible, because you've really got to just not give your opponent any kind of time to be able to get into your base and disrupt your economy before you can actually start clicking up to age 3. So I think that's also something as well. If people are struggling, just have a look at, either Guigs playing or other people of high level. Have a look and see what their timings are. How quick are they getting into age 2? If you're getting in like 5 minutes 20 into age 2, you're doing something wrong.
Yeah, you're doing something wrong. If you start with the French consulate, I think, I don't want to say mistakes, but I think around 4 minute 20, you should be age 2.
Okay.
And just for reference, a flawless fast fortress with China should be between 6:45 and 7 minutes.
There we go.
If you do it really perfectly.
Yeah, of course.
Usually, you're not going to get like insane treasures or a lot of livestock that you could use. So if you do it like at 7:15 or 7:20, it's already pretty good. Overall.
Yeah. Fantastic. There we go, guys. You've got the times. All I can say is thank you so much, Guigs, for another masterclass. I really appreciate you coming on. And hopefully you guys watching have learned quite a bit about China, and you can use that to get yourself out onto the ladder and improve. Thank you so much, Guigs. Appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Thank you, Widgie. See you next time.
See you next time. Bye-bye.